Thank you for watching Murder, Monsters, and Mysteries. Tonight we take a look at a terrifying cryptid, the Dogman. Werewolves are one of the most iconic monsters in history, from the legend of King Lycan to all the different fictional characters as well. What we're looking at today is similar to a werewolf, but described more as a dogman. Dogmen tend to be upright, walking humanoids, but with dog heads, like a person but a dog man. One of the first dogmen sightings took place in 1936 in Racine, Wisconsin. A man named Mark Shackleman was working as a night watchman for the St. Coletta Convent in 1936. One evening, during his rounds, Shackleman saw a canine-looking, black-furred, and carrion-smelling creature with what he described as long, menacing claws. The dogman was kneeling and scratching at an indigenous people's burial ground near the convent. He fled once Shackleman came towards him. Shackleman came back the next day to find footprints and claw marks. Two of the fingers seemed to be withered from what the night watchman could tell from the markings. Shackleman was scheduled to work 2 nights in a row and went back the next night. Once again, he witnessed the creature scratching at the mound. This time, though, the animal didn't run away. It stood up, 6 feet tall, and made eye contact with Shackleman. Then, it spoke. It was only one word, though less of an actual word and more of a name. Gadara. The night watchman summoned up his courage and refused to run away. He maintained eye contact and prayed to God. Then he turned around and slowly walked away. The dogman sneered at him and kept staring menacingly, but it didn't move or follow him. Shackleman never saw the creature again, though he did often smell its scent. 1938, Paris, Michigan. Robert Fortney was fishing that summer on the Muskegon River, closest to the town of Paris, Michigan. The year was 1938, and Fortney was 17 years old. Out of the blue, Fortney was attacked by a pack of wild dogs. 6, as far as he could tell. The teenager was lucky to have his rifle handy. Before any of the dogs could lunge, he fired off his gun into the air. After that, the dogs scattered. Except for one. This black-furred canine was no ordinary dog. Once the shot rang out, it proceeded to stare into Fortney's eyes with his own piercing blue gaze from 10 feet away. Then, out of the blue, it grinned at him. It was unafraid of his gun. Robert fired one more warning shot. This time, the dogman left, although instead of running on all fours, it stood up to about 6 feet tall and ran away on 2 legs. 1961, Big Rapids, Michigan. The next witness wanted to remain anonymous. He was up late one night at his home. He lived across from a manufacturing plant that he worked at as a night watchman. The plant sat next to the Haymarsh State Game Area, and this is where the source claims to have seen someone, or something, making noise by the chain link fence bordering the property. He believed it to be an intruder, so he went into his closet, got out his gun, and went outside. But instead of seeing an intruder, he saw a 6-foot-tall, gray-brownish, upright canid shambling about in his driveway. Thinking quickly, the anonymous witness ran into his house to get his camera. When he returned outside, the dogman was already off his driveway and further down the dark street. At one point, though, the creature did move near the street light, and the anonymous source was able to snap a few photos before it ran into the night. 1988, Alto and Lowell, Michigan. Another anonymous source, in elementary school at the time, was playing during recess around 10 in the morning. He decided to head into the woods adjacent to the elementary school playground to hide, as he was playing a game of hide and seek. He made his way to a river by some train tracks where he heard a huge splash and saw dark-furred Dogman run into the woods, switching between 2 legs and 4 legs to run before disappearing. At this point, the witness ran straight home to his bed, and he kept silent until his adulthood. This is how much the creature terrified him. The second sighting took place in the nearby town of Lowell in the winter of 2008. The anonymous man now has a family. Sleeping soundly, he heard a thud on the roof. His canine-related childhood memories flooded back into his mind. He snuck outside, and that was when the very same blue-eyed Dogman poked his head out from the top of the roof, staring directly at him. Then the Dogman leapt 30 feet to the ground and bolted on all fours to the tree line. Once at the tree line, he did stand up to a full 6 or 7 feet. The man, braver than he was as a child, ran at the Dogman brandishing a machete. The Dogman stared at him, almost smiling, and uttered a single audible word: "Don't." The man stopped dead in his tracks and was overwhelmed by supreme, strange sense of calm. He dropped his machete and backed away. The Dogman stared at him, still smiling, before it turned and walked calmly into the woods. That was the last sighting the man had of the Dogman, and he hopes he'll never see it again. 1989, Elkhorn, Wisconsin. Bray Road is a stretch of road running east from the modest Wisconsin town of Elkhorn. This particular stretch of road is the same that the Beast of Bray Road gets his name from, though this sighting in 1989 would be the first in this beastly cryptid's illustrious career. It was a fall night around 1:30 a.m. Everything was quiet on the backcountry Bray Road connecting Highway 11 and Country Road North. Lori Andrizzi was driving home from her job as manager at the Elkhorn Lodge, and that's when she saw it. At the side of the road, a dark brownish-gray figure was kneeling with its back turned to her, short pointed ears being the only real thing to stand out. As Andrizzi approached in her car, it turned, showing off its strangely canine face. Its elbows were up and claws were facing out, so I knew it had claws, claims Andrizzi. I remember the long claws. Those claws seemed to be holding roadkill, and its eyes reflected the glow of her headlights. It looked to be 5'7" and 150 pounds, from what she could tell. Unlike most wild animals, this creature didn't run off when she approached, but instead looked directly into her eyes, and Drizzy drove past it. She felt as if it were so similar to a human that there was no trace of wild animal in those eyes. To this day, I believe it was satanic, she says. It was just my feeling. I don't believe in werewolves per se, but I believe something could be conjured up. My grandmother was very religious, and she believed it too. Lori Andrizzi did eventually report her story to the Walworth County Animal Control, and hers would be one of the first official encounters of this beast. 1991, Elkhorn, Wisconsin. In the same area, it happened on the same stretch of road where Lori Andrizzi saw her Dogman. This one took place Halloween night, of all nights. Doris Gibson was driving to a friend's house to pick up another friend from a party when she hit something on the road, causing her front tires to lift off the ground. She got out of her car to investigate, thinking she had hit a small animal, but found signs of neither animal nor injury, so she went back to her car. That was when it lunged at her through the fog. Brown, straight fur, a canine face, a muscular frame, and striding on 2 legs. Gibson quickly bolted to her car. She got in fast before the beast could get to her. I just put my foot on the gas pedal and started going, she said. But as soon as she started pulling out of there, the canine Dogman tried holding on to the rear bumper of the car to stop her. She claimed that the scratch marks in the back of her car were there the next day, due to the Dogman. Gibson had a second sighting when she had a passenger in her car a different night who shouted, "Look at that thing," and the two of them saw the same muscular Dogman. This time, however, she sped her car up, didn't stop, and got the heck out of there. 2006, Fitchburg, Wisconsin. Fitchburg lies to the southwest of Madison, Wisconsin. On a chilly night in September, at around 2 a.m. in the morning, a college student named Matt was up late, working on his homework, when he heard strange popping sounds, almost like bubble wrap being played with, coming from the walls. Then, all of a sudden, thousands upon thousands of birds were startled and flew off loudly. A strange thing to happen in the middle of the night. And that was when he felt it, the tremors of a minor earthquake. This, Matt thought, answered the questions of what caused the birds to flee, so he went back to his work. But then he heard another sound that pierced through the air. It rang across the whole neighborhood. A blood-curdling, almost murder victim-like scream. Worried about potential harm stemming from the earthquake, Matt rushed outside to help whoever was in trouble. The screaming continued as he ran out into the street, and as the car approached, shining its headlights, Matt saw something strange in the glow of the car. A humanoid creature with a wolf-like head. The screaming stopped, and the canine cryptid took off as soon as the car approached, which made it hard for Matt to get too many details of it visually. The car stopped behind Matt, turning out to be a police officer, who then asked Matt, "Are you the one who called?" Apparently, someone else had witnessed it as well and called 911. 2007, Reed City, Michigan. A man named Sam and his two friends were out hunting, each positioned in their own stand until 4:30 p.m. rolled around, and the sun began to set. But that was when the sounds of the forest completely stopped. Silence, no birds, no insects, nothing. After a moment, a deer ran past Sam, followed by a foul scent similar to mothballs. That was when it appeared, a hulking, hunched-over, yellow-eyed, two-legged cryptid running from the bushes to pursue the deer. Sam stayed still and waited for his friends to arrive. They made fun of him and didn't take his sighting seriously. The next day, Sam and his friends went out again. It was a calm day, but around 5 p.m., Sam heard shots being fired about 100 feet away, followed by screaming. His walkie-talkie blared. His friend, panicked, described the exact same Dogman that Sam had seen the previous day. This time, it had run away once he'd fired. Oddly, this sighting didn't deter them from hunting a third day, and they had gone back. There were no sightings of the Dogman the third day. But on the fourth day of their hunting trip, there was a sighting. The Dogman entered a well-lit clearing right in front of two of the three hunters. He stared up at them directly and grinned. Sam's friend aimed a gun at the canid, but it ran off immediately, knowing what the gun was, the whole time making a hissing noise. 2009, Shelby, Michigan. This sighting takes place in the heart of the Michigan winter, on a cold night, around 11:30 p.m. Retired law enforcement officer Laura Love was riding shotgun with a friend of hers, who, for this story, wishes to remain anonymous and will only refer to her as C. The two were heading up north on the US 31 near the West Weber Road overpass when they got a look at something lycanthropic on the cold, moderately snowy road. We saw a large, tall, dark, and oddly shaped creature run out from the left side of the overpass, claimed Love, and hit the rear quarter panel of the small truck in front of us, causing the truck to fishtail. The other truck didn't even stop to check for damage, it just sped off. Love and her compatriot were able to get a look at the lunar lit Dogman. She describes it as about 7.5 feet tall, dark-furred, bipedal, with backward-looking knees, and nearly a lion's mane worth of fur sitting on its neck. She claimed the Dogman had a face like a border collie. The creature didn't stop for long. It ran off, disappearing into a patch of weeds and trees. Love and her friend C drove home silently, shocked. They didn't discuss the encounter until they were in the safety of Love's home. Only there were they even able to admit to each other what they had seen. 2016, Duluth, Minnesota. Just outside the border of Wisconsin, the city of Duluth can be found in Minnesota, near Lake Superior. This report comes from a graphic designer. She wishes to keep her name anonymous, though. But she did sketch up a detailed drawing of the creature, being an artist. It was a chilly night on Maple Grove Road. The source witnessed an upright cryptid running from the edge where the lampposts of the residential area are able to illuminate the street before dashing into a field with a very old barn. She described the creature as probably being 7 feet tall, with an extremely hunched back. It had a wolfish face, with a long snout and short, pointed ears, and it moved stiffly and awkwardly, as if it were walking on its haunches like a gorilla. The graphic designer was frozen for a second, watching the Dogman move, until she saw a passing pair of headlights illuminated from behind, bringing into focus the creature's awful silhouette. She panicked and drove to a well-lit gas station where she waited for her husband to come home, and she described the awful sighting to him. Later on, she told her sister about the encounter, and her sister, to her surprise, confessed to having a similar encounter as well. Thank you for watching Murder, Monsters, and Mysteries. If you enjoyed tonight's video, please like and subscribe, as we'll be uploading more regularly.